Jack, we can't make any bones about it. This is a big task, a hard one to win.
Yeah, this is probably as tough as it gets for us. I mean, going to be freezing out there, number one. Number two is they've just come off a loss against the Wallabies in Melbourne. They want to keep their Bledisloe Cups, alive, and obviously the Tri-Nation dreams alive. And, I mean, there's, Dan, the whole week everyone's been talking about the World Cup, so there's a lot of, pressure on them, and therefore they will come with everything they've got at us. So, just hope that our players can stand up to whatever gets chucked at them.
When you look at the local betting, they're giving us no chance. So how do we set about beating the All Blacks?
Well, yesterday was Friday the 13th and the papers were all black. So, maybe it's an ominous sign for the All Blacks. And I mean, a lot of people have given us no chance in a lot of games, and we've ended up coming up and winning those games. I remember talking to players yesterday in the team session that when we were in London last year, people said there was no ways we were going to beat England at Twickenham, and we hadn't won there for years and years and years. And then we should have actually won both test matches. So, rugby union's a strange game. I mean, I also recall the Sharks losing to the Western Force this year, and the Sharks losing at home to the Brumbies, which was never going to happen, in terms of what was expected for that week. So, hopefully we can just play as well as we can.
When you look at the All Black sides, they're not supermen. They've taken a chance at lock, and those two young centres, that might be something we can play on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the centres, I know Tuava's got a shoulder niggling injury, and that's obviously one area where we can really attack. And then they'll bring a guy like Conrad Smith on, who hasn't played a lot of Test rugby, number one, and also been out with an injury. So there's an opportunity there to have a full go at outside centre. But the whole thing revolves around how much ball we get and what kind of ball we get going forward. Their locks obviously going to be a lot under pressure, and that Keith Robinson's just come back to Test rugby. And a guy like Johan and Albert have played together for Natal. They've got Bismarck at hooker, who's played with them in the Sharks franchise. So, as you say, nice opportunity for us to have a go at the lineouts, and then try and get the ball to Tuava's channel and see whether we can take him on.
The key area for us is starting to be if whether we're allowed to play, whether we're allowed to scrum, and how we go with the breakdown. Stuart Dickinson, what do you expect there?
Well, he's obviously a lot of flack. He took a lot of flack by the South Africans in the last couple of years. But I think we've been quite fortunate in Test matches that he's refed. We've actually, we've won more than we've lost. But you're right, Dan. I mean, the whole game is based on the quality of the ball we get, whether we're allowed to play. I mean, Richie McCaw, there's no doubt about it. He's one of the best exponents of slowing the ball down. And turning it over, and once there's turnover ball to those outside backs of Sivi Vatu and Dougie Howlett and Muliaina, I mean, obviously that's the kind of rugby they want to play. So, I think we just got to be patient. We've got to try and get down the field and make sure we put them under pressure. They are one team that can score from their own half, so we mustn't take our foot off the gas when we're in their 22. I saw in that Durban test, 2-3 weeks ago, when they throw the ball quickly into the lineouts, and the next thing we were defending on our try line. So, it's going to be for me, it's going to be one of those test matches where we can't play sevens rugby. We've got to play real test match rugby, and a lot of these guys are going to get tested in terms of their own abilities and their character.
We might also have a look at Muliaina. He was a bit shaky in Durban.
Well, it's quite an interesting thing that people were speaking about, playing JP at fullback. He doesn't really have a boot, and the irony is that the New Zealand back three are not known for their boot either. Dougie Howlett's played fullback, Sivi Vatu's played fullback, and obviously Muliaina's their number one fullback. And between the three of them, I mean, they don't really kick the ball out of hand either. So, again, without giving too much away, if we do kick, we've got to make sure that we've got the right lines coming up to tackle, because the chances are they're not going to kick the ball back and give it back to us. They're going to try and run from wherever they get the ball. And as you say, we've got to try and see whether or not we can turn Muliaina around. We don't want him running forward and taking the ball running forward towards us.
Can we look forward to the Springboks moving the ball a little bit more? We know our plan against the Wallabies was to pin them down, but we obviously can't play like that in every test match.
Dan, I mean, I can tell you now, because obviously the kickoff is going to be happening and there's not too many trade secrets will come out. But the reality is Ruan and Derek are very important to us tonight. I don't believe that we can move the ball around and try and play athletic rugby against the All Blacks, not with the backline they have. So, I mean, the problem, I suppose for the viewers is that we're trying to make it a little bit sort of stop-start rugby. The more it's stop-start, the more it suits us. We try and get our forwards into the game. We're trying to use Ruan and Derek to put us down in their half of the field, and then put them under pressure in terms of first phase position, whether it be scrum or line-out ball.
One thing that did let us down a bit, which is quite odd because it's what we do well, is first-time tackling, making hard stops. We need to step up on that.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, we are very, very well known around the world of being the only team in the world that can probably win tests without the ball, and that's always been a huge strength of South African rugby. And you're right, Dan. I mean, we had the ball for 6 minutes in the first half, and yet we were leading 17-10 at half-time against Australia, and that's a phenomenal stat to think out of a whole half. We only had the ball for 6 minutes in hand. And as much as we slipped a couple of first-time tackles, I think that comes with the defensive patterns that that the players haven't played together. They probably don't trust the players inside and outside because they don't know each other well enough. So, by keeping the same sort of group of players together this week and not making wholesale changes, I'm hoping that now there's a little bit more trust in the defensive alignment, which allows players to really tackle, first time and drive the players back.
Have you taken up with Stuart Dickinson the question of obstruction, because it's getting out of hand again?
Yeah, well, I think Australia are probably the masters in that with their rugby league background. I mean, they do. You watch rugby league games, a lot of the players they run in rugby league and the sets they run in rugby league are almost, carbon copies of now in rugby union. Obviously the All Blacks have also got a couple of plays where they run a couple of decoys and all that, like everyone would. And I think Stuart Dickinson, maybe with his Australian background, will probably be a lot more aware of those sort of decoy lines than maybe a New Zealand ref, because they grow up the whole time with league. On the television sets in Australia. So I will take it up with him, and I have taken up with him before, but I think at this stage that's the least of our worries. I think there's, the line out for us is vital, the scrum for us is vital, and obviously, the presentation of the ball at the breakdown for us is very, very important. We can't getting slow ball and allowing players to have rules for certain players and not for others.
Coach,